We're talking about afterlife and death. I'm kind of in a limbo scene myself about, you know, kind of just having like all my faith just destroyed this year. It hasn't even been a year yet. And, you know, when you're in a cult, whatever you want to call it, a religion, you know, you have all your answers, all your questions answered for you. You have the answer to everything, you know. And so this life never meant anything. Everything was about preaching the kingdom of God and, you know, proclaiming things. Because if you actually read the Bible literally, pretty much Paul and Jesus both commissioned you to do that, not to worry about this kind of stuff, not to get caught up with the things in the world, because it's all considered refuse or garbage depending on your translation. And I've evolved like Jesus' apostles. They were all gave up their fishing careers, their accounting careers, such and such, and then followed him and pretty much were homeless, you know. And so Jesus definitely did, you know, encourage an ascetic lifestyle, and so did Paul. I mean, Paul did encourage people to work, for that matter. But so the idea of life after death was, I always had a dream of being a martyr, you know, and, you know, being persecuted as a Jehovah's Witness in prison because of Satan's system, you know, hating us for telling the truth, and dying for that, and giving my life meaning in this life because I can spread the message more that way, more than I ever could alive. And so I always like had dreams of being arrested or something stupid and martyred, you know, like Peter or whatever. And but then when I met you, you know, you kind of had things more together, because even though you're raised Catholic and being an Entj, you kind of figure out what you want a little quicker than I do, because I'm distracted by a lot of different squirrel things. And, you know, watching like Christopher Hitchens or, you know, Campbell, you know, and other people. Like I found motivation with Dr. Carrier and Dr. Robert Price. But you have a good little abstract idea from an ENTJ perspective. Why don't you tell us about your thoughts on the afterlife?
All right. So, as it's been mentioned a couple of times, and for the third time, I am an ENTJ. It seems apparent to some people, and
that's because you're an unethical bastard.
Yeah, right. So he thinks. It's like I show him how ethical I am all the time. He's like, those are your ethics.
Well, that means you're not an ENTJ.
Anyway, all right. So let me. I think there's three parts to it. As far as fear of death, no, I do not have any fear of death. I guess, like many, you're a little bit cautious about the pain that you usually associate with dying. And I think everyone, to say that, yeah, I don't have a fear of pain with going along with death would be disingenuous to say something like that. If anything, there'd be a fear of like a painful death or a painful disease, something like that. I don't think anyone should have that. I don't think you should wish anything like that on anybody else. So, but as far as death itself, death is, as far as like a comparison to our realm, as far as our existence, it's like walking through a door. It's just the end of our human consciousness, the end of our perceptions from a human being's life, a human being existence. That's all it is. I don't think it ends there for any of us, and I don't think it matters upon your faith or your beliefs or what you do. I think we're all have the same destiny. I'm going to back up a little bit as far as the concept of death itself. All right, this is where it gets complicated as far as the explanation. Our lives here in this, our human existence from birth to death, I think it's eternal. I think it is happening all the time. If any of you are Battlestar Galactica fans, you've heard the phrase, this has all happened before, this all will happen again. So, in essence, what I'm saying is that the way time works, at the quantum level of physics, what they're learning and what they have learned for the past 100 years is that time is, first off, at the quantum level, time doesn't even exist. But as real as this moment is to each of us, is how time is happening for all time, for the past and the future. They discovered this in their equations, that for this to exist now, the past must be happening at the same time, the future must be happening at the same time. Again, just as real, just as alive as this very moment is to each of us. And so this life for us right now, it's always happening. So my point with that is that make the most of this life. Choose actions, activities, beliefs, thoughts that give you a happy, satisfying, fulfilling life, that make you happy, make your world a better place. I have two parts to my philosophy. We have the internal, the external. So you want to do things to improve yourself internally. You want to improve the world around you as well, and that includes the people around you. That's my own personal philosophy. So I do things, I purposely choose to do things, I think things, and I do things that will improve both my internal self and my external world, which again includes not only the physical surroundings, but also the people around me as well. And that gives me satisfaction. That makes me feel like I'm living a good, healthy, happy life. And the more I can do those things, the better. So if this is eternal, this life we're living right now, make it great. Make it something that you'd be proud to have in the timeline as far as your part in this, part of the thread of it all, that is going to be something you're satisfied to, where that end comes for you for your human existence. If you have the chance to look back and reflect, which not everybody does, but if you can, you're going to think, yeah, hell yeah, I had a great life, and I'm happy with who I became, how I changed, how I grew, what I did with people around me. I raised a great family. I created a good environment to live in. I help those around me as far as their own personal growth and what they have in their lives. If you can do all that and feel satisfaction in it, then I don't see what more you can do to give yourself a good existence. So again, remember, what we're doing here is eternal. This will always happen. It has to always happen. If this collapses, and say if all this ended with us, there is no future. There's nothing that can happen in the future. And as we know, that's not going to happen. Like, we're the foundation. We're the foundation for what's going to happen in the future as well. So think about that also, that you're laying the foundation for what will come in the future, and that's a big responsibility. So that's how I see our existence here. Now, to get deeper as far as the greater reality, one of the things they've discovered is that they don't think that this universe we live in is real. They think that it is a hologram. It's a projection from the quantum level, that what's going on at the quantum level is reality. That's where the true reality, I think that's the source of our consciousness, is what's something that's going on at the quantum level that we're just beginning to understand. I'm turning so my focus is off right now for a little bit. So
calm your NI down. You need to focus on multiple things.
All right, so all right, at the quantum level, I think that is the source of our consciousness. I think that's where true reality is going on, where it's really happening, and consciousness is eternal. That's really the foundation. People think the material world around us is the real, but I believe consciousness is the reality that's eternal in all time. And so I think when we leave our human existence at the end of this, even though it continues, the connection we have coming from the projection coming from the quantum level, what we become then, I think it's something bigger. I think our consciousness expands. We're aware of more stuff. We grow even more. I mean, this would be where I'd have to say to go to the next level as far as my explanation. I've done things in dreams, which that convinces me there's something beyond this. I can do things in my dreams which are far more than what I can experience in this life, and that's one of the things that convinced me there is something beyond this, just simply because of my experience in dreams. And I don't want to get into all that stuff right now, but I do think that consciousness is something that is much bigger, just far more than what we perceive it as now in our human existence. And I think our consciousness continues after we end our human existence here. Even though this part is eternal, there's a greater source of consciousness, which is, it's more consciousness, or a bigger consciousness, that we reconnect with. And how that's experienced, we'll experience that when that time comes. I guess that's about all I can say on it at this point. So, fear of it, afterlife. What was the other thing? Type E and TJ. What was the other thing?
What's your perspective on an afterlife, or do you fear death? And that's pretty much it.
That's it. Okay. That's about all.
So you don't fear death?
Nope.
Okay. I don't think I do either. All right, later.